both belong. Join the conference, it's gonna be lit. Curipod fam, you don't wanna miss it. In this digital age, we got them online. No need to travel, no waiting in line. From the comfort of home, our passion takes light. Afraid we divide us, but our heart bars are right. Can't attend live, don't let it dismay. The play's on the way, just a click, no delay. Curicon, the future's awesome. We're writing, teaching, they both belong. Join the conference, it's gonna be lit. Curipod fam, you don't wanna miss it. So spread the word, let the assignment unfold. Curicon's the place for teachers, it's our world. In the realm of light, together we're fine. Our Curicon, let make the future come alive.
Welcome back to day 3 of Curicon. I'm Amanda Fox, your host and Curipod community manager. Today, it's all about leadership. Whether you're a teacher, an administrator, or an ed tech guru, you're in the perfect spot to dive deep into crucial discussions around AI and education. Our focus today revolves around the pivotal theme. We've assembled an amazing leadership panel that is geared to tackle essential questions, from unlocking the impactful opportunities AI brings to education to empowering teachers to explore AI responsibly without compromising quality or data privacy. We're covering it all. We're not just discussing theories, we're diving into real-world success stories, ethical considerations, and practical steps that principals and superintendents can take as they embark on their AI journey. Together, we will unravel the future of education seamlessly infused with AI. So whether you're here to gain insights, share your experiences, or simply explore the transformative potential of AI, you are in the right place. Make sure as our questions pop up, you join our discussions in the chat because we want to know what you think as well. Get ready for an engaging, insightful, and empowering day. So let's go ahead and introduce our panel. We've got first Mr. Carl Hooker.
There's my pose.
That's
just for you,
right,
Amanda.
pose.
Always the Twitter pose. Thank you for having me, Amanda. For those of you that don't know me, Carl Hooker, I am in Austin, Texas, an educator, 25 years in education, 8-time author, 5-time podcast host, 2-time bar owner. Little known fact. That's always fun. Stay tuned for that. Maybe at TCA. We never know. Also, 3-time father and 1-time husband, knock on wood. Yes. So thank you so much to Curipod and Amanda for you guys for having me on today. And I'll be on a little bit later today too, doing a little mini keynote on Learning Evolution, my new book that just came out a couple weeks ago.
Awesome. And our next expert is not a stranger to anyone. We've got Iric from Curipod, co-founder. Yay!
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. It's closing into the middle of the night in Norway. But I still got my orange pants, and I'm super ready to discuss a lot of what we've learned the last 12 months.
Awesome. And our next guest is Phil Hintz.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on, Amanda. Appreciate it. I'm Phil Hintz. I am the CTO of Niles Township School District 219, just outside of Chicago, and we are in the process of implementing and embracing AI in our school district in many different ways. So we'll talk about that today.
We also have Nika McGee.
Hello, everyone. Pink shirt for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Get those mammograms. Also, men, breast cancer happens to you too. Got to send that message out, but I do have my orange pumpkin. I was about to say watermelon. You know what I'm thinking about. This is my pumpkin. I'm so happy to be here this evening or afternoon or night, depending on where you come from. I enjoy Curipod. I'm amazed with the product. So happy to talk about AI. Recently completed my dissertation on the impact of AI in education. So excited to be able to speak and be amongst such a distinguished panel. Thank you.
Thank you. You just gave me an idea too. The pumpkin. I'm going to carve my pumpkin with Curipod logo.
Ooh,
we should do an AI pumpkin carving contest.
Yes.
Maybe a team thing. And our final expert on our panel, Sarah Thomas. Hey, how are you?
I am great, thanks. How you doing?
Doing awesome.
Great.
Tell our viewers a little bit about you. I'm sure everyone recognizes the name. You're no stranger to me for sure. EduMatch is a great publishing house with some awesome books you pump out.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And hello to everyone. My name is Sarah. I'm coming straight out of work. So you probably see me in my work hoodie and my work hair and my work everything. So coming off of traffic off of 95. But I've been an educator for 19 years, taught everything from 1st to 12th grade, as well as in a master's in ed tech program. And currently I am wearing 2 hats. I wear one as a regional technology coordinator in a very large district in Maryland. And the other hat that I wear, as Amanda alluded to, I am the founder of EduMatch. And we do a variety of different things, from publishing books, connecting educators. We have a nonprofit arm with many grants currently open, and we also do professional learning. So lots of different things going on in the world of EduMatch right now.
Awesome. So we're just going to jump right into it. We've got about 7 questions queued up that we're going to go through, and our experts on the panel are going to kind of tackle them, and you in the audience as well. We want to know you to share your experiences, your feedback, and your insights into AI and education. So the first question that we have is, what are the most impactful opportunities AI brings to education?
Don't all jump in at once. You want me to start?
Right? I stumped them already with question number 1. No, you guys are all being respectful. Iric, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think there's a million things to talk about here, but I think the one that probably excites me the most and the one I'm the most passionate about is what it brings of equity to education. I usually share my short story. Like growing up, I usually say I was born with a Hermione reflex. I loved participating in classes. But one of the reasons I was able to do that, one of the reasons I was able to be so curious, was I could be curious and discuss all of this at home. So I've already tested out all my arguments. Everything I said in class, I've tested out around the dinner table at home. And if you don't have that opportunity at home, suddenly with AI, you get that opportunity to have someone like more personalized learning journeys before you enter the classroom. So to me, kind of what it brings of equity and giving people the same opportunities, kids the same opportunities, that's definitely the most impactful I can think of.
All right. Someone else want to hop in?
I guess I'll hop in. So with artificial intelligence in education, we've had it for a very long time in terms of predictive AI. We've had it to help personalize learning for our students and things of that nature. I think with generative AI, then there's just so much more that can be done. It's like, I can speak for myself personally. It's like having another thinking partner there, and it can help to elevate you in so many different ways. It can help in terms of productivity. It can help to challenge you. It can help to take you to that next level and do the same for our students. I've heard of some great use cases where students have used artificial intelligence to help them prepare for exams, to help them prepare for, to help them write their essays, but not write it for them, but to help them generate
process.
Yeah, to help the process and to give them ideas in areas that they may not have looked before. So I think that it is super helpful, and I'm very excited about the future.
I had the opportunity to meet with the CTO of MySpace, the former CTO of MySpace. He started UAI.ai, and he was talking about personalized learning has been around forever, and with personalized learning, it's still been hard to bring it to the masses. And with AI, we actually we're on the precipice of being able to provide a personalized tutor to every student that is tailored specifically to their needs. So I think that's a little not too far off, but like what I think I'm most excited about.
Yeah, we've been talking about that forever, man. If you think about personalized learning, since we have devices in the hands of kids because of the pandemic, so maybe there's an opportunity there, but there's still a lot of have and have nots. And to go back on both what Sarah and Iric just talked about, that equity model, it's funny to me that people complain about AI as a cheating tool because it is not thought of if you use a tutor to help you write your college essay, you're not thought of as cheating. If your parents help you with your homework, which we know a lot of people do, you're not thought of as cheating. But if you use an AI tool, then all of a sudden you're a cheater. So what's interesting is not everybody has access to college tutors. Not everyone has access to parents at home that are working full-time jobs. And so now all of a sudden we're leveling that playing field. So I love that you mentioned that at the outset, Eric. And I think that to me is what makes me most excited about this opportunity and the potential of what you just said, Amanda, which is that personalized learning.
I would add.
Can I see your fingers, Carl? Sorry, Phil. Let me see your fingers.
My fingers, I can show you this cup, which is orange. But yeah, my fingernails, my daughter's painted my fingernails, but they don't look very good, so I'm embarrassed to show them. But they were orange earlier.
All right, Phil. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to add, I definitely add to what they have to say. As a school district administrator, I look at it as a way to, bring efficiencies into the school district, bringing efficiency to more operational tasks that will allow administrators basically to have more time supporting schools and ultimately more time with students if they can do things like with AI doing communication automation, for example, or resource management, allowing AI to schedule that and to do attendance management, for example, rather than spending time on making phone calls and finding out why students aren't there. You can actually take the time and spend time with the students and be proactive in an attendance aspect when you know that AI is already analyzing and doing the behind the scenes stuff for like behavior analytics and learning analytics. A lot of that stuff can be done and automated thanks to AI.
Love it. And our last, Nega, did you want to add to that? Or do you want me to just run to the next question? I don't think we're all going to be able to chime in on everything. So I think after about 3 of us answer, we'll just move on to the next one. So question 2 is, how do you prioritize between mapping out possibilities with AI, letting the teachers find the low-hanging fruits now, and avoiding taking too high risk?
Well, thank you so much. This is definitely something in our district that we have focused on in terms of mapping out the possibilities. There's always that push and pull about what do we allow within our system and what do we, kind of measure within our system or even avoid. And so this is the same thing that happened, with the app. Once generative AI was released, a lot of people thought, well, hey, they're banning because of cheating. So in our district, and it's still very restricted. ChatGPT has nothing to do with cheating, has everything to do with the risk that we have to look into, and not just ChatGPT, but other forms of generative AI. But we also want to make sure that our teachers and also our students don't miss out, because we can't avoid AI. It's not, as was mentioned, it has been here. And so taking a measured approach, and what we've done is we captured a group of teachers. They're able to vet the products that we're using, similar to what we did with Curipod. They come in, they get trained on it, they learn about it, they give feedback. And with that, it allows us to ensure that the products that we're introducing into our system are products that they're going to use. Many of you have been in education. One of the worst things that could happen is we make a large investment and then we're looking at our usage reports and no one's using the product we've invested in, either because they don't know how to use it or it is not a best fit for their needs. So that is one way we're mapping out. We're saying, here are the possibilities. We're going to make sure there's access, but we're also taking a measured approach to make sure we minimize risks and maximize the potential of having AI available for our teachers and students.
I'm gonna chime in here real quick. I think this is something Curipod does a really good job of. It starts with the teacher and empowering teachers to begin with AI, learn how to use it, and the Curipod Accelerator program does a really excellent job at providing opportunities for professional development and getting teachers involved now and giving them the appropriate training so they can actually use it in an efficient and engaging fashion.
I
Phil,
can jump in. I can just jump in and give a comment on that. And I think I've been spending the last 3 months traveling around the US meeting districts. And I think one of the things I see with districts like NECA's district that kind of is similar between all the districts that does this really well is they set some really clear rules. So the teachers know what they can and can't do. I think that's kind of the big challenge here, because there's so many opportunities and also a lot of opportunities to actually step in the wrong direction. So giving just really clear guidelines, I think is a really, really great thing.
Can
Phil?
I?
Sarah. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just wanted to jump in on what Eric just said, and just kind of speak with my district hat on. So one thing that that has been thrown around a lot in conversation is about having to break the big rocks in place when it comes to privacy, personally identifiable information, things of that nature, and making sure that those things are, we have discussions about that, and we put those priorities in place, and also allowing space for innovation and exploration and creativity. So that's all I would add to that. I love what Eric was saying, and just wanted to add that as it's top of mind for us right now in our discussions.
Now, Phil, I know you've been doing a lot of work with the blueprint and mapping this out. So
yeah.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. We are actually having our first Teacher Institute Day on Friday, this coming Friday. We're going to be having an AI playground, very similar to ISD does their AR, VR playground. We're doing an AI playground where, teachers will actually sign up for all of several different tools. We're going to introduce them to a couple of tools and then dig in there and start putting some prompts in there. And the way I'm introducing that really is talking about how, we've been consuming AI for years, whether it's Netflix or Google Maps or you name it. iRobot has been, Roombas have been, utilizing AI to navigate your living room. So I'm trying to make my teachers feel comfortable that AI is not anything new. Yeah, this ChatGPT might be new on the scene, but really, they've been using AI for years, and now let's find ways that they can use it. And by having a playground, I want them in there just learning and experiencing. Of course, Curipod is going to be one of those tools that we're going to be diving into, and making sure all my teachers have an account in there right away, so that they can take advantage of putting prompts in there and just seeing how much easier it's going to make their lives when they realize that. So. It's a balance of making them feel comfortable with AI, and then giving them tools to then partner with them and help them realize the benefits. And I'll be presenting on some of that stuff in my presentation later on today. So you get to see some of the mapping of AI policies, and that also goes hand in hand with that. So.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the what I call the tell, show, do method. Tell, show, do. Tell you a little bit about it, show you how it works, and then let you do it. Because I think as teachers, you want to get your hands on these things. So when I've been going around the last few months and doing trainings on AI, that seems to be the thing that seems to hit the most. Like, okay, play with it for 10 minutes. You'll understand that it's, first of all, it's not as smart as you think it is, but also it's going to help you with certain projects and certain things. And to go back to the kind of the privacy idea, the risks and responsibilities. I mean, you have to do some vetting of these tools. I mean, this was when we first came out with iPads back in a long time ago. I'll just say that 2011, it was like everything was the App Store. Remember, there's an app for this, there's an app for that. Now what is it? There's an AI for this, there's an AI for that. So you have to make sure that you balance all of that to make sure that you're vetting all where the information is going. But also be careful, because we actually had a principal tell me honestly, he's like, well, I took all of our student data and I figured out if I put it into ChatGPT, it would spit out this great little grid with all this information. I was like, wait a minute, you did what? So sometimes it's human error. It's not always the company's fault. But he's like, am I in trouble? And I said, well, not yet. But so I do think there's a training component of this that comes into it. And it's something we have to talk about with teachers. Like, yes, these are tools that we're looking at and we're vetting, but also be careful. So I like that idea, Phil, of the playground. Kind of get in there, vet the tools, have them go through and try them out. Curipod's a great example of that.
We're gonna move along to question number 3. What skills do you believe will be important to learn in education in the time of AI? Like, has there been a shift of skills? Is there something that like we really need to grasp or hit home with our teachers and our students?
I'd like to say that, AI is really the new digital citizenship 2.0 or 3.0, or what are we up 4.0? Our responsibility to help students, guide them to use it ethically and responsibly. I know we're in the process of changing our acceptable use policy to now a responsible use policy that incorporates all of that. And the ability to be able to teach students how to cite AI when it comes time, that it's not their creation. It may be an amalgamation of some of their ideas and thoughts, but it's a little bit of both combined together, and it's really, like I said, the digital citizenship of the second half of the 21st century. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think it brings media literacy back into focus. We need to be able to teach kids how to analyze content outputs, analyze the facts, the opinions, the bias that's in misinformation, because we know AI hallucinates. So I think shifting back to a media literacy or an AI literacy.
And to
So
kind of
I think
elevate it.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Neneka.
I really do think, what a time to be human. And those skills that we need to connect with other humans is what's going to be important, because so much of AI could take that out. So for example, we mentioned, yes, we can put a computer in front of every kid. And so, in some trainings, I talk about Star Wars and I talk about Star Trek, and there's two different visions of education. And one, if you watch The Mandalorian, Grogu goes to this school and there's a robot in the front of the room teaching the class.
Don't spoil Ahsoka. I haven't gotten to that yet. Don't spoil Ahsoka.
No, I'm not going to spoil everything, but this is the future, and yet we still have roles and desks. There's another image in the new version of Star Trek where a young Spock is in a little bowl and they're shooting out questions, right? So it's personalized to him, but he's isolated and he's not connected with his other peers. So that to me is like, how do we look at these two visions of the future, yet we know that as the humanity of us, we need to be connected. We need to be social. We need to think critically, but we also need to think with complexity. Those are going to be some of those, and we need to be able to communicate and communicate well. And now with prompt engineering, I think that's at the forefront. If we do not know how to communicate, we do not know how to string words together, that's going to be an issue. So I think those skills that tap into the humanity of us are going to be the skills that are essential in the age of AI.
I just love everything you're saying so much. I think it resonates so well with me. I think like on one step, of course, like one step has been mentioned, it's super important just to learn how to utilize AI. But if we elevate it a bit, I think AI will, I usually say when I go around that AI will make the teacher and the classroom 100 times more important. And that is the sole reason why me and Frick started Curipod 4 years ago, was that we were sitting around and saw that there were very few edtech tools focusing on kind of building those skills of critical thinking and collaboration. So I think if someone has played around with Curipod, they will notice that there is no way of collaborating in Curipod, and there is no asynchronous version of Curipod. And that is by design. And it's a hard choice, but because I think, can we get an asynchronous lesson is one of our most requested features. But our point is that the skills we want to build are the skills you build when you're a group of students together in a classroom. As Neka says, like, you learn together, learning is social. So there's a lot of cool tools to use for synchronous learning, but we don't want to build Curipod for it, because we want it to build those skills that we truly believe is the future, right? Because AI will come in and be able to do a lot of the tasks we needed those other skills for. So what skills, as Neka says, like, what skills do we still need as humans? It's the interpersonal skills, it's the creative skills, it's the complex thinking. So yeah, you could have pitched Curipod to any investor with that with that pitch. It was such, I thought you just summarized kind of the need so well.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's interesting how schools are changing already. In Austin, just last week, there's a school that launched. It's called an AI school, and they say we have no teachers. That's like their first headline. And I'll put a link in the chat, but it's really an interesting concept what they're doing. And by the way, we're going to mess this up many times over as educators. We are in the infancy of what this is in AI in terms of generative AI. And so what they do is they basically have kids of all ages learning on their own kind of personalized playlists, and then they have coaches / mentors / guides that are kind of walking around and helping them do different projects. One of them, and you'll appreciate this, Scandinavian friends, one of them is that a third grader has to go into a room and put together IKEA furniture in less than an hour, which if any adult has tried to do is damn near impossible. But I think
the concept that Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. I think the concept that they're hitting on is interesting because it's, again, get back to the personalized approach. If we can actually use it to leverage certain things that we can do with students and kind of almost clone ourselves, then there's an opportunity that we can actually truly be the guide, coach, mentor that we keep saying we want teachers to be. I think they've taken an extreme example here in the school here in Austin. Again, I'll post it in the link. It's an interesting story of what they're trying to do.
I love that idea because, like, I think building off both what you said and Neka said, you can't combine them, like, because I think my biggest fear of the future is schools that just do exactly that, right? So my biggest fear are those schools where students are just on their individual learning, never interacting with each other. But then on the other hand, I think it can be used so well because it can also enable them to be more secure when they work together. So if we kind of get rid of homework and instead of homework have that AI tutor that kind of works together with the students, build the skills. So when they get together in the classroom, they can really participate and learn together. I think that's my big dream for education.
Let me see. I'm trying to pull. Okay, so I'm just going to flash up something on the screen real quick. So the top skills, and I'm going to remove that banner. Hold on. The top skills of 2025, according to the World Economic Forum: analytic thinking and innovation, active learning and learning strategies, complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, originality, initiative, leadership, social influence, technology use, technology design, resilience, stress tolerance, flexibility. So I've used this in a presentation recently with Berkeley schools in Michigan. And I think when we're looking at these future skills, like, we need to consider like what is AI going to do for us, and what are the things, how is that going to shift our focus and the weight of the tasks that fall on us that kind of activate our humanness, and that we have to, I mean, the stress tolerance. I mean, workload and accountability with AI, we can reduce that stress from that workload as teachers. So, and then we're going to move along to question number 4. What steps do you recommend for principals and superintendents who are just starting their journey with AI in their schools or districts?
I'd like to start, if I could, on that one, because that's exactly where we're at. I'm in a new role in a new school district as of July 1st. I'm in this new role here. And when I talked to my superintendent and he wanted to get his vision of where he wanted things to go in terms of technology in the district, he says, I want to be a leader in using AI in our, be a shining example of a school district using AI. And I was like, well, we needed to start that about 10, 12, 13 months, 14 months ago. I feel like I'm drinking the out of the AI fire hose every day, because there's just so many things. And we are actually just now getting to the point, like I said, we're going to do an AI playground on Friday, but that's just to kind of wet the whistle, the appetites of many teachers who are already, dipping their foot in the AI pool. But at the same time, we're developing policies, a policy that we can put in place. And I really call it a statement of use for generative AI in our school district. I'll be sharing that in my session later on, but I think it's a place to start so we can have some guardrails put up for appropriate use of AI. And you need to have some conversations. I will add that COSIN, the Consortium of School Networking, just recently added a K-12 generative AI readiness checklist. And this checklist forces conversations of all the different stakeholders in a school district to start answering some questions. Examples like, does the generative AI align to achieving your district's mission, vision, goals, and values, for example? That's a first question right out the gate. And so you need to develop, a subcommittee or a committee on AI with the different stakeholders all being represented so that they can have all a say in what that policy is going to look like and how it's going to at least begin, because it will be an evolving document just as much as AI is evolving every day.
And so I just dropped that COSIN link in the chat. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. So one thing that's not talked about in many of these conversations, but something I think is very important is board governance. As a superintendent, one of the first things you're going to do is gauge your board, because usually they hold the purse strings in terms of what your budget is going to be. And if they don't have an understanding of AI, particularly because it has been centered on fear, it has been centered on, are they cheating? If you're not equipping your board members to understand what generative AI is, what, some of the AI that's already being used in the district, so that they can begin to have that understanding, and you're almost becoming an advocate. So I definitely want to throw that nugget out there, because it's so essential, particularly if you're wanting support from, your board who are linked to the community.
I love that you use the word governance. I think that's something that I think boards sometimes want to micromanage us in schools and tell us what we can and can't do. The truth is they should be overseeing their values of their community. We should be working as educators to put in place the right things. Phil, I'm going to push back a little bit and say that policy is probably a little too extreme. I hear a lot more schools these days saying, well, I want to put a policy in place. They have to go through the board process and do all that. I don't think you have to specifically for AI. I think it goes back to an earlier conversation we were having where we talked about those responsible use guidelines or guardrails. I think that's probably a little better way of using it. And you mentioned that kind of a little bit too, that media literacy piece. I do think when you start putting policies in place, that's a bigger process. And we all know that education moves extremely slow. And so the second the policy is in place, something's going to change. If you put a policy in for just ChatGPT, well, you're being way too specific because there's so many other tools out there, right? So I push back a little bit on the policy piece. I do think we need guidelines and guardrails, but I don't think we need to put it in policy.
Policy takes too long. We talked about this as someone, in Texas, and you're in Texas. Generally, you're having to go have legal review through TASB, yes, which is our thing. And then I always say, not only does it have to go through committee and subcommittee, I said, somewhere there's somebody named Bob. Bob has to look at the policy, and Bob takes a long time. I don't know who this person is, but
always takes forever.
At this time, AI is going on. So that's why the AI literacy is so essential. And bringing in those components that help teachers and principals and others in the educational ecosystem, not because if we wait, then our students are left behind, and we can't afford that.
We just have Eskil in the house. He just joined us. For those of you who haven't met him, he's one of our developers behind Curipod. So give him a solid shout out. He does all the hard stuff to make Curipod happen.
He's also the owner of the cat Lusk, who is the name you will see a lot if you join the Curipod session.
Yeah.
Hey, Amanda, I was going to say Agua Fria School District. I'll give them a shout out. Has a really good system, a red, yellow, green system for implementing AI that I think I can be swayed to what Carl was saying as far as the word policy can be kind of scary, but I think I don't know if I can share that little graphic on the screen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you want to hit present and share.
All right. I will just share screen, I guess, real quick here. I'll be careful on that, but
we don't want to know what's on your screen, Phil.
I know. Select the tab to share.
It was the AI that made me do it. See, that's going to be the new excuse. It wasn't my account. It was AI that made me do it.
Yeah. So there it is. And this is something else I'm going to be sharing later on. But if you look at it, they divided into red bots, yellow bots, and green bots as to when AI is acceptable to be used in a class or in a situation. About the only thing I would change on this is I would make the red have a frown and the yellow have a straight face and the green have a nice big smile. But I found this, extremely helpful when explaining to teachers. If they're dead against using AI in their classroom, they are a red bot teacher, and that's okay. I need to make sure teachers realize that it's okay not to have to use AI. We used to always say, not every lesson is an iPad lesson. Not every lesson is an AI lesson. But when you do choose to use it, that's kind of the yellow bot there. Here's some guidelines and some guardrails of how you should use it in terms of citing it. And then, some lessons can be designed strictly that you must use AI while you're completing your lesson. So just to give some ideas there.
No, I love that. I've been doing a lot of work. Oh, go ahead, Iric.
No, I just thought it was super cool. And I wanted to highlight a comment from Helena Mars here, changing the assessment. I think this is super interesting because giving some context for those of you who don't know it, Curipod, we're actually a Norwegian company. So I'm sitting in Norway right now. We're spending a lot of time in the US, but we want to build something for the rest of the world. And what Norway did 5-6 years ago was that they redid their whole curriculum, not to fit with AI, but to fit with kind of the changing needs of student skills. So they reduced it from, every course was reduced from like 98 learning targets to 5 or 6. And the whole idea was to enable, like the learning targets are more in line of learning. In history, it could be learning to discuss consequences, or learning to discuss impact, or learning to discuss causes, right? But the whole point was to move a lot more of the education away from kind of, they need to know these 100 stuff on this line to be able to do the broader discussions. And I think, I'm not sure if politicians will phrase it this way, but I think that the discussion or the trade-off they did was that they really realized that this will make it harder to do objective assessment, right? Because the test will be more subjective. It will be open-ended essays. It will be conversations with the teacher. But on the other hand, it enables the teachers to really teach those skills that we believe are so important for the future. So I think this is the slow moving part, but I think essentially at some point, I think the big companies will come in and push policymakers to change how we do testing, because we will not build the skills they need in their workforce. That's at least my hope and belief.
Absolutely. A lot of the work that I've been doing a lot of work in Michigan. I'm there 3 or 4 times this year working with different school districts, and a lot of it is focused around shifting our pedagogy and the way we assess. A lot of teachers are worried again about that plagiarism piece in the writing process. So I've actually put together a couple of just graphics that kind of talk about like how we can shift our pedagogy practices and what we're actually focusing on. So, and it's focused kind of around preventing AI plagiarism and promoting authentic learning, but just, more hands-on activities, regular writing workshops, collaborative assignments, focusing on skills that students need, that citation and referencing practice, that media literacy component. And to kind of help from an English teacher background, to kind of help English teachers think about that writing process, building in micro interventions along each step, not using AI for the whole writing process, but that student who's stuck in that brainstorming phase, giving them a prompt that's going to help them with that pre-writing, generation of ideas, outlining. And then I threw in a gotcha prompt, which is the research phase, where we asked AI to give us sources, and we know the hallucination component, where Phil and I were actually having a conversation about this last night. Like a couple months ago, you ask AI for references and it hallucinated. Half of them, 50% of them were made up. They didn't exist. So that prompt is intentionally put in there to teach students that AI is fallible. That hallucination component is there. But then Phil told me last night
it's getting smarter. It's getting
smarter. So it's getting smarter. That 90%, he put the same prompt in, and 90% of the resources were actually accurate, or they existed.
For my doctoral program, I've been looking for references, and I not just giving me material, but give me referenceable material. And like I said, 10 years or 10 months ago, it was 50%. Now it's closer to 90%. Where you're actually giving me credible sources. So.
That is funny. I had the same thing happen to me as well. I had done a recording and I wanted to, turn it into a publication. So I transcribed it and I wanted some sources to back it up. So I put it in the AI and I said, hey, are there any studies that can back this up? And they're just like, yes, here are the studies, blah, blah, blah. And I went to look into all of them. And this was a few months ago. None of them worked. I was just like, wow. Okay, back to square one.
I think what we're seeing here in this conversation is just a proof of the pudding of how important it is that students get exposed to and learn about AI, right? Because I don't think a lot of people here are saying it, but it is it is easy to equalize kind of using AI with cheating. I think we all use AI a lot, right? and I don't feel it cheating, right? It's just the best way of doing stuff right now. And I think the best thing I saw, this was visiting a classroom in Texas. I saw this teacher and they were doing writing, and I was in ELA. They had an essay assignment. And what she did was she posted the assignment into ChatGPT and it wrote the essay. And she pulled that essay up and said, this is going to be my new benchmark for failure. Because I expect you all to be able to go and paste this into ChatGPT and do it, and then at least improve on it yourself. So if that should be kind of the baseline, right? Because you can all do this and then you can improve on it. And I just loved how she did that. And I'm not saying everyone should go out and do that, because I know there is a lot of AI policies and guidelines in place that might be against that. But to me, it just exemplified so well. She was able to show her students why using AI won't help them in life, because everyone has it. So it's not that you now can cheat the rest of your life with AI. It's just that basically what we can produce, the quality of what we can produce as humans just increased so much.
That's a teacher in California did something similar. She had her rubric in her writing class, and she gave students 3 samples and had them grade it. And she's like, you're going to grade this according to my rubric. And then at the end, she was like, you aren't actually grading this according to my rubric. I snuck in a chatbot, an AI generative writing piece. And now I want to know if you know which one it is. And they all got it right. Every single one of them. And she looked at him. She's like, if you know, so will I. So just let them know right off the bat.
My own daughter, who was a 6th grade teacher here in Chicagoland area, she was telling me how she's using AI or ChatGPT in her classroom, in her 6th grade classroom, which is the top of a K-6 building. She actually will have ChatGPT create a short passage about maybe a topic they're studying, and then she'll tell ChatGPT to write it in the style of a 5th grader or the style of a 4th grader, with spelling mistakes. And then she'll put that up in front of the class, and the class will then have to find the mistakes. So it's almost a reverse engineering of ChatGPT. Instead of ChatGPT writing it for you, it's like, see how good of a speller you are, see how good of a grammaticist you are as a 6th grade student, to be able to recognize and grade this ChatGPT's paper. So
I think what you're touching on now is just, and I know we're straying off topic, but this is the excitement of new stuff I will see kind of AI brings into education, because it allows us, and I say this every time I'm out doing talks, the AI will do for basically all other subjects what the calculator did for math, because it will enable us to work with subjects in a whole new way, instead of like the feedback tool in Curipod or other AI feedback tools. Suddenly you can write a passage of text in 15 minutes in class, you can get feedback, then you can write it again, and you can get feedback, and you can write it again, and you can do stuff that wasn't possible just a year ago. And I'm super excited to see all the cool new stuff educators will come up with.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about higher ed in the chat. I'm noticing some comments about it, and I think you have Australian universities who, when this first came out back in last spring, decided to go all paper assessments. They said, we're going to go paper and pencil just to make sure. Now, to their credit, they did say we're going to reevaluate it later and figure out like will we actually use it? I have a friend of mine who's a professor at USC, and what he did is he basically said, I'm going to force you all to use it. And this is a B- level paper. So again, kind of going back to some of the things you guys said, your job is to make it an A paper, which means that the students had to know more than AI to make it better than the AI. They had better response. He said in the 4 years that he'd done the assignment on public diplomacy, it was the best papers he's ever received. The students actually learned more than they ever had before, because previously they were just regurgitating information that they were Google searching for and pasting into some sort of context. So for him, he's like, it's going to be a tool that they just continue to use. But again, he also is very rare. A lot of his colleagues have shied away from it. And there's a famous case in Texas A&M here in Texas where a professor basically expelled his entire class because he thought they were all cheating, because he used an AI cheat detection tool, which, by the way, wasn't exactly perfect, and wrongly accused his entire class of cheating. So it is a balancing act right now.
The number one question I get is, how can I detect if my students are cheating? What AI detector, plagiarism detector is the best? I'm like, they're all bad. I'm like, you can't use that as a guideline. OpenAI even says they're not accurate. And I think the misguided inquiry is asking about how to detect it versus how to adapt to AI being out. And there's an amazing PhD candidate in AI right now. I've been reading a lot of his work, Leon Furs. I'm going to drop his link in the chat if you want to dig deep into some of the stuff that he's talking about. I mean, my mind is blown, and you will get your AI education just from reading his blogs. So,
well, one of the things y'all talked upon, and this goes back to principals and superintendents and what we're investing in, and the importance of being in a position in my role of people trying to sell, vendors trying to sell things. And one of the big things that came out was, here are these AI detectors. And when we would say, when you're knowledgeable and understand, and I would be like, well, no, we're not investing here, and here's the reasons why. And they're like, wow, you really know what you're talking about. We need more superintendents and more principals to know what they're talking about. Because the other thing that's happening is people are just slapping AI on a label, right? AI everything. There was a report, I can't remember, and it is months back, so I'm sure the shift has changed. But they researcher reviewed tons of companies that said that they had AI, and actually only 15% of them actually were utilizing AI. So we have to be very careful, even in ourselves as adults, to have critical thinking, to have discernment, and to be able to be knowledgeable enough if we're in educator roles, particularly those that, we're impacting students, and the investments we make have to, we have to ensure that we don't cause harm by investing wrongly, because we don't have the knowledge necessary to make sound decisions regarding AI.
Amanda, getting back to your idea of, where should superintendents, where should principals and school leadership begin? Michigan Virtual Schools just released, and maybe you've already seen it since you've been working in Michigan, released an artificial intelligence integration framework for school districts. If you don't mind, I'd like to share that if I could.
Oh, absolutely. That would be
cool. All right. Take me just a moment. And let's see, right here. So as it comes up, it goes into the areas, and it's the 3 columns are: I'm investigating AI in my school district, I'm implementing AI, or I'm innovating with AI in the school district. And then the sidebar there is, how are you doing it in leadership and vision? How are you doing it with policy and ethical and legal considerations? Where are you at with implementing AI in instructional framework or learning assessments, professional learning, student use, and business and technology operations and outreach? And it says right underneath there that in this tiny, tiny print, it says the purpose of this rubric is to outline key planning considerations for the use of AI in school districts. And so if you put in the chat, Amanda, the Michigan Virtual Artificial Intelligence Integration Framework, there is a wonderful site there. They have a complete guide on how to start doing this. And it's something that we are looking at as utilizing for tools to get AI, to get a real framework approach to implementing AI in our school district.
I'm dropping that in the chat now for our viewers. Is that Adam? Adam says, yeah, that's why teachers need to have an original in-class writing sample from the students to determine their writing level. I'm struggling to get colleagues to even look at AI twice. Learn your students' voices. I like as a former English teacher, I always started my year with having an on-demand in-class writing, just so I could, give kind of like an ipsative assessment, or where you start off, you see where they are, and you just make sure they grow by the end of the year, that they're hitting the benchmarks. We're gonna go ahead and move on to question 5, which I think we've already kind of done a good job at kind of talking about.
I think I think we strolled on to this one.
Yeah. So question 6, can you share specific success stories you've seen with implementing AI in a school or district and where it's made significant impact? We're down to our last 10 minutes. So if a couple of you could take this, then we'll move on to our final question, number 7. And I do need to end this on time so I can bop and get Carl started on the next one.
Yeah, I have a great example that I will share with you in 10 minutes. That's a teaser, folks.
That's the teaser. So stick around, come back, stay where you are.
Yeah, I like this question. And if you don't mind, I'll also speak a little bit to the one right before. One thing that I feel that that I want to touch on, we touched a little bit on equity before. And I think that schools definitely have a responsibility to expose students to artificial intelligence. And hopefully our students of color will become interested in the back end of it, in terms of fueling the algorithm, because we know that bias is generally an issue when it comes to artificial intelligence. So that's one thing that I personally would like to see our schools and districts do more of, in terms of encouraging this career path to our marginalized groups of students. But just to kind of segue into question 6 about specific successes. So this is kind of outside of schools or districts. But back on October 7th, then EduMatch had an AI summit online, and just the anticipation and the buzz of it was just so amazing. And the things that people came out to share. So this is a topic that a lot of people are extremely interested in, as we all see evidenced here in terms of the great comments, the great discussion that's going on right now. Another thing is that with the district that we worked with last week, then there was an optional session and 900 people came out to various sessions. So I mean, I'm loving the fact that people are hungry for this. People are trying to get more literate around this topic and helping our students to navigate this path. So so if it's cool, I'll share a link in private chat, and I don't know if you could share it for me. We'll we have the videos from the EduMatch session in case that is interesting to anyone. So I'll share that with you in the private chat.
Yeah. So we were happy to sponsor that. I'm gonna drop that link in the chat, and Iric, go ahead.
I'll jump in and kind of share 2 different stories, and that's I think that's I feel really lucky to have been able to be a part, like building up the Curipod AI Accelerator program, because I've got to see so many different schools and districts and how they work with AI. So to kind of give 2 different examples of how you can do it, which I both think seems really good. And one is from San Benito ISD, where NECA is, and they have kind of done one, like they joined the AI Accelerator program to explore how to work with AI. And what they did was, we're putting together one cohort of teachers where we're going to let them explore a lot of different AI, and then we're going to follow them and get feedback from them. So they kind of do this one group where the teachers get a lot of opportunities to explore. And then I've seen another district we work with in Washington. They have done another route. They're basically said we're giving all our teachers access to AI, but we're giving them really strict guidelines on, for this year, AI is not, no students are allowed to use AI. It's only the teachers. But I think the kind of common denominator between those approaches is you're giving the teachers really good guidelines. So the teachers feel the freedom to really explore and discover without feeling the big fear of kind of messing up. So I think that's kind of the common denominator we've seen, kind of giving the teachers those safe guidelines.
Sorry, I'm fixing the link. Someone told me that there was an error.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
I
there
also
we
get.
go.
I'm sending you. See if you can post this one as well. I'm sending you another one. Nice. No, but I think that's an interesting kind of thing we've seen from different districts. Anyone else want to share a success story?
I think going back to what Phil was saying earlier, giving teachers access and equipping them with the proper PD. And PD isn't just sit and get, it's time to play, because until they start the account and they've made something in it, they're not going to realize the power of how to harness it in their classrooms and or professionally and academically. So just getting in, playing, and just starting with one thing.
So I definitely want to speak to that. It was an important comment that was made earlier in the chat, and it was from teachers living in the space. And I hope I find it. I think it was Christy Cloud. But if teachers feel like you're giving them more work, it's what I'm going to call this, and I say it several times. AI will become the dusty binder on the shelf, because it will be November and December, and testing is coming, and you're giving me more work, and I don't have time. So I'm going to put this to the side. It is essential, again, not only a great time to be human, but a great time to be in an educational space where we can guide this. And this is why, and as we're talking about the importance of keeping not the human in the loop, but the teachers in the loop in this process is going to be essential. If we take them out of the loop and start dictating from the district level, this is what you're going to use, this is how you should use it, here are these guidelines, and we take their agency away, AI will fail it'll be cataclysmic. We can't afford that, because AI is going to be here, and we can't afford for our students to enter into society without knowing how to use it. So I think, just that caveat throughout, this seam throughout this is to ensure we keep them in the loop, keep them in the process of deploying these systems, so that we don't end up in a situation where it isn't being implemented or integrated effectively.
If I can, this is amazing. And if I can piggyback off that and kind of add my final comment to this, I just want to applaud every educator around the world that's working with AI right now, because AI hit the whole world really fast. But what separates education from everything else is that educators had no choice. First of all, AI, as we have talked about, could be used for cheating. And also, educators got the responsibility of actually making sure their students are ready for everything that comes next. So every other sector of the world can say, we're just taking our time using AI when we feel we're ready for it. We're playing a little bit around with it. We're taking it cautiously. And educators didn't have that choice. So just such a big kudos to every educator around the world that kind of is living that tornado right now and just handling it. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, so the big thing with banning it too, when we talk about the equity gap, there's this video, and I'm going to make this really quick, and we're going to move into question 7 and close out. There's this video on, there's 2 groups of students on the stage, and they have a curtain dividing them, talking about the equity. Sarah, on one side they're given textbooks, the other side they have computers, and someone's quizzing them. And before they can even really open the book, the group on the right with computers are just shouting out the answer. By the third question, the students on the left with textbooks are throwing their hands up in the air. And this kind of goes to the schools that are banning it. I think as a district, we have, or school, we have the responsibility to put it in the hands of our teachers, to equip them to teach with it, and to also have students learn how to collaborate with AI personally and professionally. Or we're actually widening that gap for them. We're not preparing them and giving them those future skills. We're cheating them out of skills that they're going to need, because they're living in a world of AI and it's not going anywhere. Question 7. How do you
I
empower
think-
teachers to explore AI without risking the quality of education or data privacy concerns? Which
I think
we
we've
kind of-
covered this a lot in the rest of the talk. So maybe we should give the floor to Carl.
Oh, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf. Well, on that note, we're gonna surf on out of here into Carl's session, and so everybody get your wave on. Hold on, I'm gonna do it. Then wait, I'll do it. Carl will do it. Eric, you do it. There we go. We got the wave going.
Nice.
Virtual wave. So I'm gonna wave goodbye. We're gonna stop there. Thank you
y'all.
guys for such riveting conversations around ethics, privacy, real world case studies. You guys are amazing, and I can't wait to see your individual sessions later. So stay where you are. Grab your orange snacks. I'm gonna shift over to an. Oh my gosh, Phil, that is so cool.
Yeah, I'm
What are you
like,
doing?
where can I do that? See you there.
We'll see you right now.